Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this. This is our preseason meeting for the 26-27 debate season. For all of you coaches watching, we're going to go through some of the major documents and ideas that are going to govern this season and hopefully get you off to a really strong start. I'm really excited for this year. I think the novice packet is shaping up really well. We have a lot of time to do recruitment. Things are looking really good based on the PD. I think we're going to have a really strong year this year. And, we found out a lot of things last year that worked really well that we're going to keep building on. So, like the subtext on here says, there are a few changes, real and potential, but 95% it's mostly the same old, same old. So hopefully we can get through this pretty quickly. If you want to turn this on and do some cleaning, do some dishes, maybe for you real debate heads, turn it on 1.5 or 2 times speed, go for it. But please do watch this whole video, do pay attention, because I will be following, me or Malik will be following up pretty soon to put some of these pieces into action to make sure that your team does as well as it can this season. So, first of all, welcome back and welcome to the next season of the Minnesota Urban Debate League here in Minnesota. Today, we're going to talk about some of the coaches folder and other resources, tournament times and dates, what the novice evidence is going to look like and what it means at different levels, what some of the upper level supports for JV and varsity are. We're going to talk about the contracts. We're going to talk about a few changes for this year. And then for those of you who are non-district personnel, so you're not a teacher, you're not admin, you're not employed by the district, we're going to talk about mandatory reporter training. That will be a separate video that I send out later. So that's not included in this video. First of all, some people to know based on where we are in late August. So, as many of you may know, Jenna is on to greener pastures. She got a great job working at the Office of Higher Education. She's no longer with us as program manager. Everyone say congrats, Jenna. Let's go, Jenna. But that does mean we have to hire her replacement. We are currently in that interview process, and I hope that we'll have that person hired within the next 1 to 2 weeks, which means by the time we actually start the season, like we start doing practices and tournaments, that person will be on board with us. So stay tuned for more information. And then some other familiar faces on here. So Malik Akintola returning as program coordinator. Some of you will be more assigned to me. Some of you will be more assigned to Malik. One of us will be visiting your school at some point during the year here, and pretty frequently, I would imagine. Additionally, Ingrid Ramirez is back, at least for a little while. She'll be the volunteer coordinator. So if you have parents who want to judge or older siblings of students or basically anything judge related, it's largely going to be an Ingrid thing. And then finally, many of you know Marshall Steele is both a coach at Central but also works for the UDL. So Marshall's job is changing this fall. They are no longer the AmeriCorps Groundworks Fellow, a role where they would kind of do a lot of program stuff, visit schools, etc. They are now the operations coordinator. So if you remember Nira or for you people who've been around for a while, Genesea, the people who, sort of order the pizza, get it set up for your school, order the buses, liaise when the bus is late or not there, that is what Marshall's doing now. So in addition to being a coach at Central. Um, Next up is the coaches folder. I would really like you to, I'm going to send this slideshow to all of you, probably already sent in the email that I sent along with this video, but I'd like you to click on this link and head to this folder so that you can see the coaches folder. Basically, everything we're going to talk about today and everything that you will need for your season is going to be in this folder. So please go open it, bookmark it. If you're cleaning, if you're washing dishes, if you're out on a walk or whatever, pause the video, go click the link, go to the place and either email it to yourself or bookmark it, whatever you have to do, okay? You're going to be using this a lot and it's going to have basically everything in there that you need, including curriculum, evidence, attendance sheets, any other materials around, running the team or logistics or even additional stuff that not every school does, like how to build a booster club, how to do fundraising, how to do recruitment of teacher coaches, whatever it is you have to do, it's probably going to be in there. Okay. Okay. Tournament dates and times. Some of you already know this, but it is necessary for me to go over this quickly. So in the Minnesota Urban Debate League, we ask that all teams, all MNUDL teams, come to what we call core tournaments. Those are tournaments that it starts on September 26th, and I'll have the dates on another slide, next slide. But it starts September 26th on a Saturday. Every other Saturday after that, so every 2 weeks, we have a tournament. All of those tournaments, except for the last one, are the exact same start and end time. The only thing that changes is where they're at in the city. So the hope is all of our MNUDL teams come to these tournaments and compete with each other, and we're together as a community. You get to see each other every 2 weeks. It's great. Um, After that sixth tournament, there's two tournaments called Minnesota State High School League section invitationals. Every school can send two partnerships to that one. And the partnerships that qualify in the top 24 from that get to go on to Minnesota State High School League state tournament, which is kind of the big to do for the state, right? Um, for those six core tournaments to start the season, we really want all the coaches there. And you'll have different duties. Some of you will be judging, some of you will be helping out with the kids, all types of stuff, right? Whatever your level you're at is what you'll be doing. And we really want a strong number of students from your school to be able to go there. So I would strongly encourage the kids to be there. And I do expect you coaches to be there unless, you have some other reason, in which case we'll figure out an alternative, right? Additionally, there are non-core tournaments. So these are local tournaments here in Minnesota that are hosted by non-urban debate league schools. We don't expect you to go to them. If you do want to go, we'll help you make it work. We'll help you get there. We'll help you plan it, all that good stuff. We want you to go, but we do not require you. There's about 5 or 6 of those. So if you attend all the tournaments, it would be about 14 tournaments throughout the entirety of the season, but we do not expect you to do that. Okay? Here's how the core tournaments work. Core tournaments, Fridays are online and they are optional. You do not have to do Fridays, okay? But what happens on Fridays is your team meets at your school. They go to some centralized location at 2:45, 3, 3:15. You sort of do a head count, figure out who's all there. You check in with me or someone else from the UDL as we start to figure out who's ready for the tournament. And then you send each partnership to a different physical room in the school. So it's just two kids in a room with their device and they're ready to debate, right? Super, I mean, honestly, really easy. And then after the first debate, we'll order pizza to your school. We'll make sure one of your coaches, or if you have a parent or something, is not judging. They'll go get the pizza. They bring it up. Kids eat pizza. They do another debate. They go home. Yippee skippy. It's great. Super easy, but optional. What's not optional is the Saturdays in person. So that every other Saturday core tournament, we really expect everyone to be at those tournaments. So what we do to make sure you're able to do that is for most districts, we're going to set up the bus. We're going to let you know what time it's going to be there. You're going to arrange for the students to be there. Once you get on the bus, you kind of let us know, hey, these students showed up, these students didn't show up. We'll change the pairings, and then students will you'll either be on the bus alone or there might be one or two other schools depending on size and geography. Once everybody gets to the tournament, we'll get started up, do 3 debates plus lunch and awards, get you back on the bus, send you home in reverse order of how you got on the bus. So once the kids and you all get on the bus, it's pretty much all inclusive after that. You just have to show up and do the debate things. You don't really have to worry about other things. Okay. So, yeah, buses will take you back to your school. And then after that, students have to get home on their own. So whether that's public transportation, walking, they rode a bike, they're carpooling, whatever, right? So you have to help them set that up, but generally, I think it's actually pretty easy since there's already existing social relations for the kids, or they're able to have their parents pick them up. But if you need help with that, please let me know. I'm happy to help you set that up with teams. So Fridays online optional, Saturdays in person mandatory. The only exception is for UDL champs, which is December 11th and 12th. Friday's still online and Saturday is in person, but both are mandatory. We'd like to see all of the teams at both so that when we do the awards on Saturday afternoon, everyone has a fair shot to, advance to the elimination debates Saturday afternoon. Okay, here it is. So this is the current MNUDL core tournament schedule. So these are the tournaments that we expect all of our teams to participate at. You'll notice that the first tournament is September 26th. It's a Saturday only. That is intentional. There's no Friday debates for the Jamboree. Everybody just shows up to this year. Our permit has been approved at Roosevelt High School, so we'll be at Roosevelt. Let's go Teddies. You may also notice a few of these places are different from last year. We get the permits we're able to get from the districts. We'd like to keep it consistent, but it is what it is, right? I believe the first three tournaments are confirmed, and then I think Central is probably going to be confirmed for Tamar Kaplan, and the U of M West Bank, or somewhere on the U of M West Bank or East Bank, is extremely likely for November 20th and 21st. And then Wash Tech, David Kwosik always does a great job getting us that building on December 11th and 12th. So I'm not saying these are 100%, but this is like 95% where we'll be on these days. I've also included the times for Saturday. So this is kind of like from the beginning of the first debate to the end of awards. We'll be going from about 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And, we'll have water, we'll have snacks, we'll give everyone lunch and food. You will not want for food, you will not want for water. Basically, it's just show up to the tournament, do your thing all day, head home on the bus with the kids, right? At least one coach on the bus with the kids. So your bus may pick you up at 9:15, may pick you up at 8:30. I sincerely doubt it'll be much earlier than that, but yeah, this is what the actual tournament time looks like for most of these tournaments. And hopefully we end a little bit before 6, but I will not make any promises that I can't definitively keep. And then we talked a little bit about sections and state, but there's a limited number of kids you can send, and also we expect each school to send at least one coach with those kids. If you send kids to sections, they must be eligible to go to state. So don't send a kid to sections who is traveling to Europe or whatever on January 14th through the 20th and won't be here. All right. Choose kids who can actually go to sections and then qualify for state and compete. Okay. Long way away. We won't belabor that point. All right. Next up, in that same folder that I shared above, there's curriculum and lesson plans. So Malik is currently working on updating our curriculum and lesson plans from last year for Novice A and Novice B, and we'll talk about those divisions in a little bit for the upcoming year. Malik's doing a pretty heavy redesign. So for those of you who have been asking for more information in the slides, a little more connective tissue, some indication of how long each slide should take, that will all be in there this year. So I think you're really going to like the Novice A and B curriculum that we're going to put out. JV and varsity we'll talk about in a minute, but the curriculum all includes a slideshow for every lesson plan, and I believe there's 24 lessons for all of Novice A for the most, introductory level. So if you're a teacher coach or a community coach and you're new to this and you're not sure what to do, don't worry. We've got you covered. Every single week, every single practice, we're going to have a lesson that takes them from A to Z, and they're going to build up and scaffold over time so that if all you do is take the curriculum out of the box, plug in the projector, and just run through the curriculum, you'll be great. You'll be good. It also includes any other handouts, if relevant, and whatever written curriculum to say, hey, X, Y, and Z is what we're working on this week. Is it required for you to use our curriculum? No. Can you edit if you like? Yes. You can't edit the originals, but you can make a copy, do it in your own style, whatever. And additionally, I will be emailing you every week with recommendations and some prep about how to use the lesson plans, usually on like a Sunday afternoon or a Monday morning. So if you just take 5 minutes to read that email, look through, see what the curriculum is, you're going to be well prepared to be successful using this curriculum and lesson plans. Okay. This next set is the evidence/division structure. So this is exactly the same as last year. Novice A, which is the most introductory level of debate. New kids, right? Fresh off the street. They get one plan text. So they have one law they want to pass. And that plan text has two advantages. So this year's topic is about health insurance reform. The affirmative plan is basically saying, hey, we should pass a single payer national health care type thing. One advantage talks about how healthcare is a right. Everyone should have access. It's good when people do. And the second advantage talks about how single payer will help prevent pandemics and, outbreaks and all this stuff, right? So I think they're two very straightforward, not very sophisticated, should be very obvious to students what's going on here. Additionally, novice A gets what's called a disadvantage. The negative gets to bring up the disadvantage. They say, aha, well, affirmative, there was this unintended consequence you didn't think about that will happen if you pass this plan. The disadvantage this year is, to no surprise of anyone, I think, an economic crash disadvantage. So it says things like, hey, if we pass single payer, the national debt will blow up, will destroy this insurance and the actual healthcare industry, maybe. And all that, it'll be an economic downturn, it'll blow up the economy, and then that has some ripple effects that are pretty bad, right? So Novice A, the arguments they're making are should be relatively straightforward, but going through the actual evidence, figuring out how this evidence matches up against each other, and then the students doing their own synthesis, their own writing, their own comparison, that may take some students all year. It may take some students one or two tournaments. No problem. Whatever works for them in terms of keeping them moving up and in their zone of proximal development, that's good for us. And whatever you all are able to handle as coaches in terms of their speed moving up, that's great for us too. Speaking of moving up, when they're done with Novice A, they move to Novice B. In Novice B, the negative gets some new options about what arguments to deploy. They get the critique, which is going to be a biopower critique. Don't worry, there's not going to be a lot of like thanatopolitics, Agamben, exceptionalism, whatever, okay? There might be a few cards that use some um, higher level language or reference Foucault or whatever, but largely I think we're trying to put this into historical, understandable terms that the students will get. They'll also get topicality, and they will also get a counter plan. Counter plan is going to be like a vouchers counter plan type thing. So instead of single payer, we should give everyone a voucher. They use that voucher to buy medical care they need. Okay, perfect. Um, Novice C, we haven't gotten a lot of purchase in this division from students before. I hope we get more this year. I think it's a great bridge between Novice B and JV, but essentially they continue using the packet, but they can add limited research. So let's say a new pandemic comes up from now until kid moves up to Novice C. Maybe they want to research some evidence about how that pandemic works, how it would relate to single payer, how other countries with single payer are doing with it, etc. Right? So one of the main limitations here is just students have to cut evidence from Google News from September 1st, sorry, from July 1st all the way up to the present. Okay, got it. And then for junior varsity and varsity, there is no limit, but we do have some suggested materials for you. I'll talk about that in a second. This slide contains a link to the evidence set, which will be released on the 31st of August. So if it's not in there, you probably beat us to the punch, but it will be there soon. This is a subfolder in your coach resources folder. So if you want to bookmark it to go straight here, go for it. If you feel like you can just go to the root folder and then click one folder to get here, that's okay too. And as always, for novices, we will be printing off evidence sets on multicolored pages. So like Advantage 1 will be purple, Advantage 2 will be yellow, etc., so that they can sort of color match and it scaffolds them up really easily. So that is not changing either this year. Students will get a physical packet in Novice A and B that they can work off of. Okay, JV varsity. So like I said before, there's not a limit to the arguments, and this drive that we have other folks from Minnesota working on is not a limit to the arguments. It's just some helpful materials for jumping into the JV and varsity level of debate. And this has been happening the last 2 years. I think last year we got a lot more traction with it than we did the first year, which is pretty normal. But really, it's been Teddy Munson from Tartan and Malik Akintola from the UDL running this and trying to make sure that everybody contributes, everybody has a say, so that, if a kid jumps up to junior varsity, they have some materials ready for them. Or if a team jumps up to junior varsity, they've never done it before, there's some materials ready for them. Okay. If you don't have kids in JV and varsity, you don't have to worry about this. Okay. So that's all the stuff that's pretty much more or less staying the same. Some potential changes this year. I, every year we get to send two partnerships to the National Urban Debate League Championship. One of those partnerships is voted for on a community. We're going to keep that the way it is. The second partnership gets there by aggregating points throughout the year. And they get those points through competing in Minnesota tournaments in the varsity division. So 8 points for a win, 4 points for a loss, 6 points for a bye or for judging. That's been really great. Our hope was to incentivize students doing a lot of tournaments and doing a lot of rounds, but we are now getting to the point where there's quite a few students doing a lot of rounds, and it might be trading off with doing other non-debate things in their life that would be healthy for them. So here in the office, we're discussing, do we want to change that? Do we want to cap the number of tournaments? Do we want to find some other way to incentivize the right amount of participation and the participation we want? So we will decide this before early September so that you can make your schedules. But I just want to put this on your radar that the old model point system might be changing this year. Okay. Second, I want to ask you all, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but I want to ask you if money were no issue, getting buses, paying for you coaches to attend other tournaments, hiring judges, etc. If money were no issue, how many of you would compete at non-core local tournaments? So you would go to a tournament, in addition to going to all the core tournaments, you would choose additional tournaments hosted by non-urban debate league schools, and you would compete at them. So try to put the practical questions aside of how much it would cost and the busing, the time, or whatever. But putting that aside, how many of you would actually do this? That's all I want to know. And in addition to that, how many kids would you bring and what divisions would they roughly be in? So I know it's hard to say like, oh, we would do this if there was no financial constraint, because that's not usually how things work. But I do want to sort of gauge the interest of people to attend these tournaments. Could be we have a lot of people who would attend these tournaments in very robust pools, and we just need to find the money to do it, in which case it needs to be a bigger priority. Or it could be the case that everybody's happy just going to UDL tournaments. There's no interest for additional tournaments, even if there was the money to support the time for you coaches and your teams to go. Either one is okay. I legitimately just want to know, what is your answer here? Okay, so what's next up? Uh, at this point in the year, some districts are starting a little early, some start in about a week and a half. Either way, we have some time to do recruitment and retention. So, what I'm asking of you at this point, right now, starting in the year, is to please contact your returning and veteran debaters. I want you to do that because Malik and I will be in contact shortly about recruitment plans, including dropping off materials like the posters and what have you to your school, helping you arrange a table for recruitment fairs or ninth grade night, whatever is going on, planning to send those returning veteran debaters to classes to recruit like advisory, English, Avid, social studies, ninth grade, whatever. We're going to get in contact with other school groups to recruit. So like I know a lot of schools have like GSA club or politics club, maybe speech teams, mock trial, whatever. We want to go to those clubs and cross recruit from them and cross recruit for them. And then we're also going to look at some other strategies that we'll send out in that email. So Malik or I will set up a preseason meeting between the coaches at your school and one of us so that we can plan all this out. But to make that happen, I really need you all to get in contact with your returning or veteran debaters if you are able to. If you're not able to, say la vie, it is what it is. But there's so much more we can be doing to recruit without having to spend a lot of time and energy doing it. And we do have some new innovations in recruitment technology that we want to share. So I really want to try to get as many students as possible right off the bat this year so we can have a really strong jamboree and have a really great time in debate this year. So here's my big takeaways for you coaches. One, please be in contact with each other and with us. We will let you know what we're planning for the next few weeks in terms of lesson plan, recruitment, what's on our mind or whatever. If there's something else that's on your mind that we don't know about or something that's going wrong that we need to intervene about or something that's going right that you want to lift up, let us know, please. Second, we'll send you weekly emails and check-ins as we can. We'll physically try to be visiting your school. And as we get that new program manager, they will also be in the rotation for this. But yeah, if there's a larger, more persistent problem, let us know so we can help. And um, there's always a lot going on in the schools, in your lives, in the Urban Debate League, whatever. But that doesn't mean that we can't make you a priority. So I just want you to know, like, yeah, everybody's busy, but if you have a problem or there's something you want to achieve that isn't happening right now, let us know. We'll do our best to do what we can. We're here to support you and be successful together, grow together. Um, Finally, some of the contract info, some key points. So you will be emailed by Marshall or Cora, who are doing operations work. They will email you about the contract pay structure. Some of you are being paid by Minnesota Urban Debate League. Some of you will be paid by your school or district. We will let you know who is paying you. And then from there, I think we should be able to have some guidance about who to reach out to if you're paid by the school or district to make sure that you get paid, right? Changes to contract this year, these actually aren't changes, but I did want to reiterate this. In the activities and deliverables, we did add some explicit language about alcohol and illicit substance abuse. Basically, it's just like you should never, ever, 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 ever be under the influence of any substances around any students, whether that's, at tournaments, practice, whatever. We haven't had a problem with this in my recollection ever, but it is important that everybody understands this, that you are working with minors and that can't be acceptable, right? And in addition, we added some COVID-19 protocols last year that we didn't have to use this year. But basically it's like if we have to move online, we'll be hosting the tournaments online and we still expect you to be there. Okay. Like I said, Marshall Steele will follow up with you. Marshall's the operations person. So if you're used to getting emails from Nira or remember you're getting emails from Genesea about contracts, Marshall will be that person in the next week or two. Okay. Marshall will also have forms to sign, and these will be sent to you. So the contract is one of them. A W-9 is one of them. Even if you filled one out last year, you have to fill one out again this year. Even if you didn't move, even if nothing changed, we need one on file. Mandatory reporter training. We will ask that all of the non-district employees do this, and also a background check. And again, if you're employed by a partner school or district, you don't have to do this. So please, when you get that email from Marshall, take 5 minutes to sign your contract and forms. I doubt they'll actually be sent out by the time I send this video out, but they should be sent out shortly. So please look for that email from Panda Docs from Marshall and look for that background check from Sterling Volunteers. If you're not employed by a district, we really can't have you working with students without doing those background checks and without going through everything. It's not only district procedure, but it's also procedure for a lot of our grants that determine how we get our funding. So it's a big deal. Please do it. Finally, if you could take a minute to pause and scan this QR code, this is a coach demographic form. This is really helpful for us as we go back to our grant, the folks who give us grants and our philanthropic donors. They want to know like who are coaching the kids, not who you are specifically, but in the aggregate, what it looks like, who works at the schools, how many, what percentage of people work at the schools, do our demographics of coaches match the demographics of students we serve, et cetera, et cetera. And then I also want to highlight, this is very important. We really want every student to fill out an MNUDL quick info sheet. There will always be a QR code at the beginning of practice that goes over this. All you need to do is make sure it's projected, tell the kids to scan it, send it in. When you do that, we will be able to have a sheet running of which kids have done it, which kids haven't done it, and we will also try to find them at tournaments to say, hey, Alex and Bethany, you haven't filled this out yet, and we need you to fill this out quick, okay? So this is super, super important. It helps us get the data back to the districts. The districts can confirm the data, and once they confirm the data, they will know that you actually had a debate team and you had some number of kids there, which is really important because if they can't verify the kids, it's like your team never existed at all. And if your team doesn't exist, the funding for you is going to get cut. You're not going to have a team for very long. So the quick info sheet that is at the beginning of every novice practice, please, please, please make the kids fill it out. Okay, we're almost at the end here, nearly 30 minutes, right on time. So here's the next steps. You will be sent the forms, including contracts and what have you, very shortly by Marshall here. I will also send out the mandatory reporter training to all of our coaches who need it. Please take some time to do those before the season starts. Don't let it sit around until October and forget about it, okay? Second, me or Malik will, or actually, second, develop your recruitment plan. What do you want to do to recruit? And then third, me and Malik will be reaching out about a team meeting, including recruitment, but including everything else to get ready for the year and the tournaments and what have you. So I think we'll have a really successful year. We have a lot of people returning this year. We're hiring some new people who seem really, really great. I love where our culture and our community is at. I love the programming that we do. I think our kids get a lot out of it. So there's nothing else to say at this point except let's get it. I'll see you soon, and we'll plan for a great year.